I think a very common but still true opinion that always comes up yearly amongst the haunter community without fail is the sentiment that Home Depot's lineup is way better than Spirit Halloween's. But I think something I never hear anyone talk about is how Spirit Halloween has fallen not only completely out of touch with the Halloween industry, but also has fallen completely obsolete. With the release of images from Home Depot's 2025 lineup, the discussion has sparked up more than any other year, just exactly verbatim to the words last year at their lineup's release, how Home Depot is quote-unquote clearing Spirit for this season. Addressing the very loud elephant in the room here, objectively outside of opinions and biases, Home Depot's lineup every year since 2021 has been far better than Spirit Halloween's. There's a few key points, but let me get into first why I think Spirit Halloween has fallen obsolete in the Halloween industry. Since 2016 and onward, Spirit Halloween has been falling under the lines of corporate ruin continuously. At a point you'll hear frequently is how Spirit just quote-unquote doesn't feel like Halloween anymore, and I think there's a few very obvious points as to why this comes out to be the sum of the equation. One of them, starting off with a lighter reason, probably not what's blackballing them from any real involvement in the industry nowadays, as well as why the props just seem so different now, is how clean they are. I don't mean clean in terms of not cursing, obviously, but more so the cosmetics of the prop. For example, I see this with a lot of CCL props specifically, is how clean and sometimes just straight up boring the clothing ends up being. Take Rick Ratman, for example, a prop that's supposed to be gory, but just ends out looking super ingenuine and forced. At face value, disregarding the piss poor job Spirit did with an attempt at gore for this prop, his clothing does seem to have blood, but there's no grime whatsoever to it. The actual clothing is very white, clean, and doesn't have any detailing whatsoever besides blood that looks like it was just added to the cloth with a cotton swab. The color on the clothing frame is very flat, monotone, and just what I'd say is a very lazy excuse for clothing on this prop. Let's take Barnyard Butcher for example. Yup, we're already going here. What is it, like 5 minutes into the video? A prop I would say is the poster child for Spirit Halloween. The clothes for him are incredibly detailed, donning a plaid, full pattern shirt, while Rick Ratman's flannel is kind of just a piece of cloth. No personality behind it, no story. Something odd to say about a Halloween decoration outside of the context of building characters. Barnyard Butcher's clothing looks like it has 1,000 stories to tell. Whilst on the other hand, a person with a very unique situation in the midst of a zombie apocalypse has little to no stains or wear on his clothes. Atop of my point, the ideas for a lot of these props for the past half decade just haven't been good, and the execution has been worse. There's nothing groundbreaking, industry changing, or something that a lot of the industries try to copy in recent times. Going from the landmark Halloween animatronics store that everyone knew to go to for animatronics, everyone took notes off of, and then being demoted in under 6 years to a follower is very, well, dignity killing, to put it lightly. I will put it transparently though that I know on one hand Old Spirit is very loved, on another a lot of their props have aged absolutely terribly. This video isn't saying that Spirit needs to go back one-to-one to Old Spirit Halloween, but they do need to take a few pages out of their old playbook and pair them with modern trends and whatnot in the current Halloween industry. Old Spirit Halloween wasn't the most innovative, but when they did do something big, the entire Halloween industry seemed to follow. Nowadays, they don't really have any ideas that I can recall anyone following after. With that all, when Spirit does get an idea that isn't even too crazily well received in the industry, they suck it completely bone dry. Mr. Dark was a cool idea, and then we got another 2 release variants of him. I understand this can fall a tad hypocritical with Home Depot's 12-footers, but aside from the fact that they actually are extremely well received and have been the most popular thing in the industry since 2020, Depot always finds new ways to innovate with them, and it never gets necessarily boring, unlike Spirit's Mr. Dark mech after the first prop of its kind. Something that you expected to be addressed when you clicked on this video is the prices. Now, obviously, one of the main selling points during the 2020s for Home Depot over Spirit has been obviously the major difference in prices. On one hand, you can buy the under 6 foot very boring clown with outdated technology used in home security over a decade ago, or for the same price, you can buy an entire 12 foot levitating Reaper. I think the difference in price doesn't even need to have any arguments behind it. I just tend to mansplain a lot because that's what YouTubers do. A major reason that prohibits Spirit from having as good as prices as Depot is simply because Home Depot just has larger operations, makes a ton of money on other things, and can order a lot more props opposed to Spirit. Since Home Depot is a hardware store, most obviously their main source of income isn't Halloween opposed to Spirits, which means they can have smaller production to retail price margins. As well, since Home Depot is worth a couple $100 billion more than Spencer's Gifts, they can order a lot more props, which means they have more bulk discounts and probably some wiggle room and price with their freight costs, of which freight costs play a huge factor in the price that you see from production to actually on the store floor. I'd also like to fit a few extra points about how Spirit is painfully corporate, as I mentioned earlier in the video. We're basically comparing Depot to Spirit since, you know, they both carry Halloween and are, or for at least one, were leaders in the animatronic game. You may think I'm hypocritical for calling Spirit painfully corporate whenever Home Depot also is, but there is a difference. While companies have to maintain some brand friendliness with PR, and it may seem ingenuine, there's a difference from being chill with it to majorly stepping over the line with it. On one hand, Home Depot knows their boundaries and isn't afraid to explore new gory ideas. I'd say maybe not all, but a few of the releases not only feel like old Halloween, but also have aged well since release and genuinely do benefit the industry. On the other hand, Spirit hates anything scary, hates exploring new ideas, and everything they release aged terribly, and they have no real benefit to the Halloween industry. Take Giant Death Ray, for example, who was cool at first, but post-release, I can't think of a lot of people who still sit and describe him as they did on release. Samuel's Forgotten Kenny Dan, Ringmaster, and so on. A lot of these props were very well regarded in, you know, on release, and now they're kind of like forgotten. Spirit Halloween not being scary anymore isn't just a coincidence though, as prop designers for Spirit have recalled having their ideas rejected or highly modified for being quote-unquote too scary. Let me remind you, this is the horror company, the Halloween store, but sorry, the ideas are too scary. It seems like current Spirit just took too much of a liking to current beige mom Halloween Target decor. A comparison you could make is saying the new Grave Watcher is like whenever a middle-aged millennial woman makes a TikTok video posting an absolutely beautiful wood grain furniture piece and paints it gray, depletes of any detail in life whatsoever, just to put it in her rustic barn living room. What was that entire part even about? This is starting to sound like a Jimmy God video. So I hope you enjoyed my 3 Google Doc pages solidifying that I'm never getting on the Spirit Halloween PR list. So I actually did channel into my inner Cardi last time I uploaded when I said I'd upload every 2 weeks. As you can tell, I'm not sure if that went too well, but nonetheless, thank you all for watching. I guess you could consider this my Home Depot reaction, as if I didn't like it, I wouldn't be making a whole video basically saying how looking at it made me realize how washed Spirit is. We're getting closer to the season, so you may see more uploads coming soon. I don't know. I might upload a few songs again soon too. I've been kind of tapped out of that because there's only so many purposely subpar pseudo rage bait songs you can make about Halloween animatronics that people take way too seriously until you get tired of it. This has been WillowLovesHalloween. I hope you all enjoyed watching as well as had a great day. I will see you hopefully not in half a year. Goodbye.